Hello again, everyone. I had a request for help from Steve, who has got proportionally variable flaps, which happen to be on his P4 stick, rather than flaps on a switch that go to set positions. So he can move the flaps to any position. And what he was having trouble with was getting the elevator trim compensation to work properly. Now, this is not a suitable thing for fixed trim positions like you would do flight mode trims, because it's constantly variable flap. So it's straightforward flap to elevator mixer. And the problem Steve was having was that with his P4 stick all the way up, which is flaps at their neutral position, he was finding that even turning on the mixer there, or turning up the mixer value, it was altering the elevator trim, which of course you don't want, because from your point of view, looking at the model, the flaps are at neutral, and he can't work out what's going wrong. Well, what's going wrong, of course, is that the flaps aren't at neutral as far as the radio is concerned. The flaps are at one end of travel. And so, of course, as soon as you turn on the mixer, it's going to mix to the elevator. Let's take a look at what's going on and how easily it can be solved. So if we go in here, we have a look at fine tuning. We'll go to the mixer. I do apologize for the camera seeming to hunt on the focus or magnification. And let's have a look at the mixer. We've got a master value 100%. The switch at the moment is P8 because Steve wants to be able to vary the amount of the mix so that he can find just how much he wants. Of course, I said, well, just use the Auto Crow app. You don't need to be using crow brakes, just some variable movement of any stick will operate the system, and that'll find you a beautiful curve, but it's more than he wants. He's happy just to find one sort of end value and live with that. So what happens? Well, let's have a look here. We'll just move along to P8 and I'll show what's here. What I told Steve to do is assign it as proportional, but switch off the center. So as you rotate the knob from one end to the other, it goes from 0 to plus 100 rather than minus 100 through 0 to plus 100. So 0, there's no mix, plus 100, the full value of the mix, and you can vary it proportionally all the way through and swing it round, find a value that suits for your elevator trim compensation. Bob's your uncle. Let's turn it off. Here's the problem. Let's take a look at the servo monitor. And there's our flap moving. Which one's the elevator? The one below it. So as you can see, there's no mix at the moment. I'll put the stick all the way forward, which is flaps at the neutral position. Notice that the radio is not at the neutral position. It's at one end of its travel. So if I turn up the mix, oh dear, the elevator is now moving, despite the fact that the flap stick is at the flaps at neutral position. Remember, we've only got flaps from neutral to down. We're not using any up flap in this thing. So how do we get rid of that? We need to fool the mixer into thinking that that is actually at neutral. Well, we go to the curve. Oh, come on. Into the curve. Now, if we have a look at where is the little target indicator, it is there. So I'll put this stick all the way forward, and I'll change it to a 3-point curve. Come down here, and let's go into our points. This is the end of the curve we want to affect. We don't want the line coming all the way up to the top here. We want it to go from here to there. So we'll move along to the next point, that one. Bring that down halfway to minus 50. Move on to the next point, bring that down to the middle there, 0. So now, when we move the flap stick, you can see the indicator moving the X, Y, X axis. Instead of going all the way up to both ends, it's only coming from the middle and down. So if we say OK to that, take a look at the servo monitor. I'll turn the mix all the way up. See if I can get things back in focus with a bit of text. Nope, it just loses it again. Anyway, the mix is now all the way up, but as you can see from channel 4, the elevator has not moved. But if I now move the flaps, the elevator trim is going with it. So I have the flaps there. I can turn the elevator mix up and down. There, it's off completely. So moving the flaps does nothing. Here, start turning the mix up, get the value that I want flying the plane. And that's how you do it. So if this has been of any use to you folks, do subscribe to the channel. There's a box just should be coming up on the screen now to allow you to subscribe. And if the videos have been of any great help to you, then you'll find in the description box a link to PayPal towards my coffee and chocolate biscuit fund to help keep making these videos. That's all for now, folks.